Hi guys, welcome to Conversation with Friends. My name is Jubilee Gamaniel, and if you're here for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. And please do not forget to subscribe, and please do not forget to write in the comments and like the video as well, because I would love to know your opinions about the things that we're going to discuss today. So today I'm going to have my friend Nydia. I am so excited to have her on the platform today because we're going to be discussing boundaries, setting healthy boundaries for yourself. Oh my God. Isn't that incredible that you can set healthy boundaries, still nurture your relationships, but at the same time, still find time to protect your mental? Because trust me, you will go insane. People can make you go insane. And today we do not want that. So Nydia is going to help me answer some of those questions, give clarifications to some things. And yeah, I would love for you to write in the comment section what you think, what's your experience with setting boundaries in relationships and friendships at work. Has it worked for you? Are you still on that journey of being able to find yourself or being able to set the boundaries without feeling bad about it? I would love to know in the comment section. Okay, so we're gonna start these conversations right now. Let's welcome Nydia to the chat. Hi Nydia.
Hi Judy.
It's so great to have you.
The pleasure is always mine. Thank you for having me here.
Of course, and you always look so beautiful and like you're just glowing and refreshed and wonderful. Like peace just lives within you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so today I want to open the conversation. So I already introduced the conversation. We're going to be talking about setting boundaries, like setting healthy boundaries in your friendships, your relationships, your family, work, the craziness of it that is the world. So my first question to you will be, when did you first start setting boundaries for yourself in your relationships?
I think I kind of started seeing them in my late 20s, but you know, we always ignore that kind of stuff. I would hear it from my mom and a boyfriend I had prior to that. I just never listened. And so until like probably my mid-30s, I really started, so not too long ago, I really started putting my foot down and setting boundaries with everyone, including the biggest one I had was work.
Why work?
It just, you want to see those dollar bills in your bank account.
Yeah.
And so you think that you just have to keep saying yes to things without really thinking about yourself. Then you start getting into more commitments and the pay just doesn't end up, being equal to the amount of time that you're spending. And that was one where I just had to really say, I need to know when to say no and just do what I'm being paid to do. Mm-hmm. It sounds bad, but honestly, we should all be doing what we're paid to do.
Oh, no, true. I agree with you 100%, and you're right on the part of like with work, it's such a big deal because you're not sure what to say and when to say no because you don't want to lose the job either. So you're being very careful. So you're walking on eggshells, and then you're like overdoing sometimes, going above and beyond. And the person who just owns that company or that whatever or that business just wants to make money. So they're not gonna say nothing until until you pass, and then somebody else will replace you.
Exactly. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have, like, the last boss I had, she's always been great. Always. And I think she would have been okay with me saying no. I just didn't know when to say no, So I had to learn that because when I did start kind of setting boundaries, she understood.
Yeah.
Completely. And I was very lucky. Not a lot of us are very lucky to have good bosses like that, that are able to see past the job and see us as human beings and what we have to do. So, she was great at understanding a lot of my no's, and I just had to understand where the no was. And eventually she started saying, like, I was going to tell you this, but I know that that's not part of what you have to do, so I'll call my boss and let him know. So she was then able to help me out with certain stuff. So we just need to understand where that line is and follow.
Child. But what was the trigger for you? What made you say to yourself, okay, I need to start saying no. I cannot keep going this way?
Friends, meeting a new group of friends, starting my life in a path where I knew that's where I wanted to go, and I really started to see myself and where I needed to be selfish.
Yeah.
And then meeting a whole new group of friends, meeting new people, starting to see how they were, being that way for themselves as well too. And it sounds bad every time you say that word, be selfish. People always think you know, like that's the first thing that somebody tells you when you're in a fight. You're being selfish.
That was gonna be my next question to you. Is setting boundaries being like, do you consider it a selfish act?
It is. Yeah. But being selfish is not a negative word, and we need to stop using it that way. Yes, there's selfish people out in this world, and we know who they are. We've seen them. Yeah. But you need to understand that being selfish for yourself is okay. Yeah. Maybe, you know, I don't know, Patty calls you at 5 o'clock right when you're getting out of work, and she's like, well, let's go here, you know, I'm meeting some friends, hang out with me. But you 2 days ago made plans to go have dinner by yourself. Yeah. It's okay if you say no to her because you made these plans, and a lot of people are like, eating dinner by yourself. Yeah, sometimes you need a mental break. Yes. So hallelujah. So you've had a long week, you've made reservations to have dinner by yourself. You could say no to Patty, or you could say, you know what, meet her in the middle, right? And say, I can't make it at 5 o'clock, but I can make it at 8. Where are you going to be at that point? I just have plans already. So it's just little things like that where people are like, well, that's selfish, that's dumb. It's not. It's you making room for yourself and for the time that you need. Because goodness knows if you're going to meet up Patty right after work, you're going to be in a mood. You know, sometimes you need to just kind of break down the day and just wind down. Yeah, because you're going to go now pour the frustration on little parties. Just they're like, I just invited you to dinner. I didn't know this was going to be it. Exactly. But also I think that it's okay because I think people also are afraid of the repercussions of saying no. So because I'll give an example, right? Your friends invite you to a dinner party, right? After they invite you to the dinner party, you confirm everything is great. The day of the dinner party, you just don't feel like going. Like you genuinely just don't feel like there's nothing wrong. It's not like this anything that happened to you. You just don't feel like going because that day you're just in such a mood. I think it's very important. That's just in my head, anyways. It's important to just say I can't make it because here's what happens, right? You say I can't. You say, oh my God, I can't make it. You know, I fell off a tree. Blah blah blah. The excuses, yeah. And then you sit at home the entire time and you're wondering, did they believe my truth? Did they believe everything I said? Oh my God, should I have just gone? But you should have just gone. In my mind, I'm like, you should have just gone to dinner. Because it's one thing to say, no, I cannot make it. And even if it's last minute, just say, truly, I cannot make it. I really cannot make it. You don't have to make excuses for it. You really, truly can't. Yeah. Except you're like one of those people who just cancels all the freaking time. Yeah, no, that's different. Now that's different. That's now that's a whole nother problem. But if one day you're like, you know what, I cannot do it today, that's okay. You should be able to just, otherwise I personally think that you sit with the guilt, and the guilt is worse than just saying no. Yeah. Because if you just say no, you just go to bed and, I don't know, you might not sleep with 2 eyes open, but at least one eye will be closed. But the moment you lie, you're now wondering the lie. And then the problem with lying is now you have to pick up the lie, create another narrative behind that lie in that sense. But anyways, it's not worth it though. I think there's several things we have to look at in that sense. One, if you're somebody who's constantly, counseling, that's a whole other story. Mm-hmm. That human being needs to really look at themselves and see, are they stretching themselves too thin? Are they making the wrong commitments? Are they trying to please somebody by saying yes and then saying no last minute? That's on that human being. But as a person, I think that's where your friendships, your family, and your work is really important. If they know where your values stand, if they know what kind of person you are, you saying no should help them understand, okay, this person makes it to things like that we go to each other. They rarely cancel, or if they do cancel, there's always for a very specific reason. That's where your relationships, all those family, friends, work, a boyfriend, husband, that's when they're going to understand that you saying no came from somewhere. Yes. And that's why that's important. If you don't build that community, then that's where the guilt comes in, and you're going to feel a little bit guilty the first couple of times you do it because you've never been selfish enough to do that. Yeah. So, yes, once you get over those couple of first times that you're like, oh my God, I just generally can't make it, you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And then my mom always used to say something, if you can't make it or something's just not going to happen, it's not going to happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. So I think just really follow through with what your body's telling you and go with that.
100%. It's so interesting to me because it took me a while to be able to say no. truly, because I would always feel bad and I always feel guilty, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want, man, if I cancel right now, da da da. And then what happened was, for me personally, was like, I had a whole friendship, right? And one time invited me out to dinner and was like, okay, we're gonna do it. And then honestly, the day off, I really, when I say I agreed to it all the way to the afternoon, by the evening, I just did not want to go. Like, I just really, really did not want to go. And I said, oh, you know what? Honestly, I cannot make it. I really do not feel good. I'm so sorry, but how can I make it up to you? And then the person wrote me a long paragraph of how I'm such a selfish friend. I never show up, and da da da. And then in that moment, I was like, yeah, no. What we're not gonna do is, one, make me feel bad for doing the thing that's gonna make my mind and my mental stay in one place. And then, but then it forced me also to realize that it's important for me to start saying no, because now I was like, there's a pattern. What that means is that you always see me as a yes person.
Yes.
And so now it's difficult for you to receive it when I say no. Like, it's so difficult. And that tells a lot about not just my character. It tells a lot about your character. Yeah. But not just that. It tells me that I'm doing something wrong. It means that there's boundaries that I have not set in that friendship. And there's boundaries that I have not set in that relationship with that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it becomes, I was like, okay. And for me, that was one of my biggest triggers to creating like those boundaries with my friendships, because I was like, ooh, one, we had a conversation and I told her, I was like, hey, look, I love you very much. Showing up for you, I will show up anytime, any day. The day that I say I cannot, please believe that it's because I cannot. Because I will wear myself thin to show up for things that are important to you. So if I say no, it means that I cannot do it in that moment. We went on with the conversation and I was like, you know what? How about this? I will remove myself from your space. I will remove myself from your energy, because I do not want to be the person who causes you pain or causes you hurt or causes you any of whatever it is that you're feeling in that sense. Have you had any of those kind of experiences with friendships?
I have, and I think you bring a really good point before I get into my stories, is the fact that you have a conversation with them. It's very important. It's important for us to not be the type of people that are like, well, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. If this friendship is something you value, or you put in time and you feel like, well, maybe this was something out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Definitely have a conversation with them. You know, and in that conversation you're gonna understand each other. They might say, okay, sorry, maybe I made a mistake. Let's just, disregard that.
Yeah.
I apologize. Let's disregard that and just continue our friendship. And then if it happens again, have that conversation again. I'm somebody that I won't have a conversation a third time. I give people, and I think 2 conversations is a lot.
Yes.
I really do, but I do try to do that. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and it's important. And so you set your own boundaries, so how many times you have to have that conversation with somebody, but definitely don't just throw somebody away. Sometimes people make mistakes and they don't see it. So make sure that you give them that opportunity of seeing, you've hurt me because they've obviously expressed their hurt. So you need to let them know that. So I think that's great that you had a conversation with this person. For me, I've had several of them. I've had them with family. I've had them with friends. I had a friend. This was a little bit before the middle of quarantine. I realized that she was living 2 lives. One, she was living with a friend. She was being a certain way with that friend, and then she was being another way with mine. And I didn't put both of them together until the mutual friend started talking to me. Because, this is what I love about my friends. All my friends are so respectful of other friends I have. They really do. Because the way they know me, they know my values, the way they see things is, well, if Nydia's friends with them, there's got to be a reason.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Even I think that all the time. If I see you with someone, I'm like, if Nydia's friends with this person, there's definitely a reason why she is. And I'm just going to sit with it and I'm going to agree with it, because Nydia ain't going to step out of her values.
Exactly. So, and this is what and she knows who she is. This is why I love her, because she's just, her eyes are always open to see the why. And so, it wasn't until things just kind of started getting a little bit chaotic at their home that she really had a full conversation with me, because I told her, I'm like, I'm a little bit hurt of how you're talking to her, because again, I wasn't getting the full story. And she was like, wow, that just does that sound like me? And I told her, honestly, it does not. So I'm trying to figure out what's happening. We finally sat down and had a full conversation, and it opened my mind, because I know she's somebody that would never lie to me as well. And this is not somebody that I hang out on a regular basis, but she's my friend. So every time I see her or we make space for each other, it's a good friendship, And so when she opened my eyes, I really started to see how I was being taken advantage of. My hangouts with this other human being that I'm no longer, friends with, it had a lot to do with her selfishness, what she needed to do. And I never saw it because I'm just somebody that's like, yeah, let's have fun. I saw it as an adventure. And in reality, it was somebody else doing what they wanted to do and using me to get to that.
Say no more. I hear you. Oh my God.
Yeah. So seeing that, it hurt. It hurt because I felt like I had dropped my not my wall, but my way of like seeing people. I'm like, oh, can I not see people well enough anymore? I thought I had already started working on that.
Force your walls to go back up.
Yeah, I was like, that was so you do have to do it. It's like when you break up with somebody, you have to do that work again to make sure that you're okay after it.
Yes, you have to.
So I had to really look at myself and say, okay, well, what are you missing? What did you miss? I don't regret the friendship.
Oh no, because you had great moments, of course. There are pockets of joy, right?
Yeah, I just don't like it that it was secretly being used to somebody else's advantage. That's what bothered me. Because I love to give, but when somebody's just taking secretly and then living like a double life to keep you in their life, that's what bothered me.
But then it's like, just for me, I always wonder about things like someone's like doing something and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna secretly take away from this person, take their joy away. It's like, what's the benefit of that? Really, truly, what's the end goal? Because the thing about the way that the world works, it works with energy. One time someone at my job said, we're just a bundle of bacteria walking around and whatever, surrounded by energy. And truly, truly, the world is energy. It's like, if you give bad, you will receive. It's facts. It's just a thing that will happen. And I know sometimes some bad people just keep on living and living and living and living. We see them being alive, but we don't know what they're dealing with on the inside. That's the truth. So it's like, no matter what it is that you do, it's like, how do you, that's another conversation for another day. It's just how you secretly, like, oh, I'm going to be secretly this person's friend and just take from their joy. It's like, how sad do you have to be to want to take from somebody else's?
And I think if you, and that's where you start kind of trying to break people down. I'm somebody that I like to break people down in my head to just kind of see like, okay, see why they did it. I like to put myself in their shoes because it helps me just kind of calm myself down and learn not to judge them. Right, because the first thing we want to do as people is let's judge them, right?
Yes, of course.
Because I honestly, when I was mad, I wanted to start judging, and then I started to think, well, maybe there's something more than that. Yeah. Maybe this is how they were raised. Maybe people used to take stuff from them, and this is why they began to be this way. Maybe they don't know any better. Maybe they were told that this is how it has to be. That's mostly with family, right? That's where we mostly encounter that, where it's like, this is how it has to be. And I always tell people, just because family is blood doesn't mean that you have to love them. You have to tolerate them and be respectful. You do have to do that.
100%.
You do have to do that. Yes. You own every human being on this earth.
I agree.
But you don't have to please them. It doesn't work that way.
And they don't have to always come first. One big lesson that I've learned from setting boundaries is understanding that not all family comes first. I'm sorry. Not all family, especially the ones who continue to take and take and take. Because think about it, right? When you're born into this world, the only thing you hear until the day you leave your house is family comes first. You must put family first. Family is the most important. And it's great. It's great to have family. It's great to have roots. It's great to have that safety blanket that you can always fall back on. But it's very important for you to be able to find yourself as an individual, right? Find who you are without your family and understand yourself without your family, so that way you can create those boundaries with them where you're not giving.
But no, when you're young, I think for me, I started to really see the pattern of where it started of me saying yes. When you're young, my mom was somebody that really taught us, you gotta be kind and you gotta love everyone. People make mistakes, right? That is the basis of everything. People make mistakes. You gotta love everyone. You gotta be kind. So as you're growing up, that's what you keep seeing. You keep watching it in movies, TV. So you're like, oh, well, they made a mistake. They're still kind. They have to, eventually they'll be okay and they'll be good people. So you continue those friendships without setting boundaries, because you keep thinking, well, if I'm that person that's going to be here for them, it's going to help them. And then you keep growing up, and then you keep just allowing that behavior, not seeing how that's affecting you. And then it just keeps going. So I noticed that when I was younger, I used to just be like, well, I just have to be kind to them and they're going to be okay. Yeah. So I just have to say yes. So they know that I'm here for them. But then you start really recognizing that there is people that aren't healthy out there and you need to, separate yourself from them. That's when you start to really see where the boundaries begin. But we don't see that because you're right. When you're young, you're just like, I want to have fun.
Yes. Because that's what you're thinking about.
And I want a lot of friends. That was my thing. It's like, I want a bunch of friends. I always want to have a group of friends. And then it was throughout the years that I realized that is not possible. I'm just not that person. I speak my mind, first of all, which is always like a big trigger for people. Yeah. So, and then, I tell people the truth when it comes to mistakes that happen, and people don't like to hear that. And so it was just years of me crying, of not understanding why I couldn't keep a friend. And that's where you should start realizing that. But I didn't. I ignored it. I thought, well, maybe I'm doing something. Maybe if I just change this about myself, maybe I'll make it work. You should never have to change yourself unless you're doing bad behaviors. Yeah. But you should never have to change yourself. And so it's just that. It's that misunderstanding of what is, having a healthy group of friends and having a healthy life, or having fun and ignoring all of that.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to set boundaries with friendships or even relationships? Let's talk about romantic relationships. How about that? It's like, do you think it's important in romantic relationships to set those boundaries in the beginning, just so that way everybody knows where you're at and where you're both at in terms of the relationship, and just in terms of things that are your non-negotiables? That's what I call them.
You should. Yeah. You should. There's books I've read regarding relationships that have helped me a lot. But one of them really talks about any relationship being a business. It's very important for you to see it that way. When you go to a job, the first thing they do is what? Give you a bunch of paperwork once they hire you, right?
So like a contract.
It's a contract of what you can and can't do at work, and how they can fire you if you do not follow certain rules. A relationship is that too. I mean, it doesn't have to be that business, and you don't have to draft a contract. I mean, if you need to, go ahead.
Hey, look, if you need to do a prenup, go ahead. Yeah. Hallelujah, amen, Jesus. Ooh,
I mean, so whoever. If you need to do that, hey,
look.
I'm not judging this. I'm all for prenups if you need it. Everybody do your thing. Everybody works too hard not to have one.
Because you will end up with 0.000000.
And if this person loves you and you love them, you're never going to look at the prenup ever again.
This is very true.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that. So if you start to see your relationships that way, where you meet somebody new, and then you're like, well, these are my boundaries, and they just come naturally. We just choose to ignore them. You know what I mean? They do. Everything comes out naturally. You could decide to go out and hang out, and this person's like, well, I want to go to this strip club, and you're just somebody like, maybe I don't like strip clubs. I'm not ready for it right now. You can say no. You say, I'm not comfortable going there. Can we go somewhere else? Yeah. But somebody that doesn't set boundaries will be like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. Because they want to say yes.
Yes, of course. So yes sayers.
Exactly. And that's the natural I was gonna say prenups again. Then get you a prenup.
I'm just saying. Ooh, child. Ooh. I like to see my money in my account. Like I like it where it is. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want someone to spend it the way that I'm not spending it. That's all I have to say. But carry on.
But yeah, that's where you have to say your boundaries. And everything in life is not that difficult if we listen. Yes. The flags are there.
Ooh. Yes.
Yeah, the red flags will always, this comes in friendships and in relationships mostly. Yes. The red flags will come out. It's just like when you meet somebody and you say, oh, you know what, on our first day, let's go out. I want to go to dinner at this place. And then you show up at their place and they're like, you know what, I want to stay in. That's a red flag. That's a red flag that we're like, oh, okay, I really want to get to know them. I guess I'll stay. Fine. You want to choose to stay and get to know them? Fine. But please make aware of that red flag you just saw. Yeah. And those are the ones we like to ignore. And then, 2 years down the road, you're like, you always want to stay home and play video games and then order out. Where did you think that came from? You should have seen it. And it's us ignoring things because we want to say yes.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's okay if you miss an opportunity. Maybe that wasn't the opportunity that you were going to get.
Or you're forcing yourself to conform to societal norms. That's the thing also, because think about it, right? With romantic relationships, you get to a certain age and the question every single human being starts to ask you, like, oh my God, when are you going to settle down? When, especially for a woman. Especially for a woman. It's like, us, that's like literally like, when are you going to settle down? When are you going to settle? Any man that passes by, oh, look at him, what of him, what of him? You're like, oh my God, you might as well just throw me to the, just feed me to the dogs at this point. And so when you meet someone who you're like, okay, this person kind of likes me, I kind of like this person, and then that's when you start to like, they tell you this is who I am, but you're like, no, it's okay, no, it's okay, it's okay. So before you know it, you're like stuck in that thing where you don't even listen to the boundaries at all. He crosses every boundary every single time. The things that you want are not being done in the relationship, and it's just constantly you giving yourself completely. Still goes back to the point that I was trying to make. Waste of space. That's what I call it. It is.
And the thing is, that's another kind of misconception that people have, which is setting your standards. Yes, we have women. We're going to use women because we're women, but we have women that are like, well, I need them to have a six-pack, be 6 feet tall. I need them to have a size whatever feet, and I need them to be a certain weight. Sure. You want that in your standards, keep them in there. But also add in all the essentials, which is, he has a good job. He, or if he doesn't,
he's brings us back to our prenup. He has a good job. He needs to have a good job. But carry on.
Only because you're trying to make a team.
Yes, and you have to look at long term. You cannot, if you're actually trying to be in a relationship with someone, truly, you have to look at long term. Can I be here long term with this person? Is this joblessness gonna kill me? At some point.
Exactly. And the thing is that if they don't have a job, that's okay too. But you need to see where their
potential.
Yeah. Like if they're ambitious, all right. We've got somebody that just kind of is going through some changes, and fine. So having all those standards in there is you need that, because this is what's gonna happen. Having standards is like setting a vision board. And making maybe 75% of your goals on your vision board. That's what standards are. Is once you meet somebody, is okay, like maybe they're not 6'5". But they're definitely hardworking, or they always have this drive. So it's little things like that. Sometimes you're not going to meet all of your list, but at least you'll meet some things. Because what people will do is you'll meet somebody and then they'll just throw their standards up.
Completely. Everything.
And that's not how it works. Because guess what? That other person's coming in meeting you with standards as well. So both parties in a relationship should be able to have standards and meet some of them. And then the other parts where you don't meet, and the little triggers that you see that, maybe they eat in bed and you hate that. Then that you have to start thinking about the fact that, can you tolerate that? I bring the word tolerate again, and people make fun of me every time I say it, because I'll tell people like, yeah, I mean, we're not friends, but I tolerate you. And they start laughing, and I'm like, that's what life is. You either are friends with somebody, you have a relationship with them, or you just tolerate them in life. Sorry, again, I'm very brutal. I'm very honest.
It's the truth. It's like...
So it's little triggers like that with the person you're with. Is like, can you tolerate that little thing that they do? Can you tolerate that they bite the pen when they're thinking? Can you tolerate that they take an hour a day to look at stocks or to look at football rankings because they have to do their what do they call that? Something... I forget what it's called.
I forget what it's called too.
Yeah, but that thing they play every
fantasy football.
Fantasy football, yes. So these are little things like, can you live with that?
But I agree with you in the sense of this one, there's compromise that has to be made every time in life. I don't care who you are, you will definitely have to compromise on some things. And I agree with you about tolerance as well. You have to say to yourself, what can I tolerate about this? Can I tolerate these things? And these are the things that are going to drive me crazy, because I always like to say to people, the things that drive you crazy in the beginning of the relationship is the reason why you're going to sign divorce papers. Because it's not going to go away. The person ain't going to change. But also as women, we love to fix. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're trained to fix. Like, it's like, oh, there's a problem, fix it. Or there's a this, fix it. I can do it, in that sense. And so sometimes I can see how it's difficult for a woman to be like, it's like, challenge accepted. And then before you know, you're already 10 years deep.
Exactly.
And then by the time you realize you get too comfortable, you have kids, and then you're like, I don't know, you know what? We'll just do whatever we do. Before you know it, you're like just going through life and whatever. But this is my final question to you. What do you think is very important or key that people need to know in order to set boundaries for themselves in personal relationships, friendships, work relationships, family relationships, whatever it is, for themselves?
You need to really center yourself. You need to find out at least which path you're taking in life. You don't need to figure yourself out. You know, there's that, people think that by their 30s they already know where they're going. You don't know. You're constantly changing. So just at least centering what it is that you want at that point in time will allow you to really, it's like this is you and everything else is coming your way. So really knowing what you want at that point in life, center that. Understand that. Know yourself. Take some time for yourself. Know that. And then everything else would just fall into place because you won't need to think harder. You won't need to start to think if, you know, Becky that you met 2 years ago is still a really good friend. You're gonna start to see it because you're gonna start to see it from your point of view. Because that's the biggest mistake we make. We start to see it from other people's point of view. She's gonna get mad at me. He's not gonna love me. You know, my family's going to hate me. You're seeing it from their view. You need to see it from this side. And then, so if you really center yourself on what you want at that point, what path you're taking, it's really going to help you see everything else. So take time for yourself. You know, take a bubble bath every week if you need to, if that's how you start. Something super simple. Go to dinner by yourself. Oh my God, I love going to dinner by myself.
Me too. Oh my God, I love going to, well, you already know that part. I love going to dinner by myself. I'm just like, look, you and I were about to go on a solo date and we're going to enjoy ourselves. And that's all that matters.
And it's that, and people are so scared of the silence around them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that, so if you're scared of the silence, go to dinner. Because you know what? There's people talking around you. There's not going to be any silence. So, you know, just start with little things like that. Take a long walk by yourself. A lot of people exercise by themselves. Why can't you do a lot of other things on your own? Go to a movie by yourself. Just really figure out where you are and who and how much you love yourself in that way. Everything else in life is going to start to make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And truly, you're right in the sense of like just knowing who you are, finding yourself, being centered. Because the thing about it is like when it comes to setting boundaries, you don't even know what your boundaries are, honestly, because you're so accustomed to just saying yes all the time. And until you figure out who you are, until you figure out what works for you, then you can say to people, this is what works for me and this is what I'm not going to take from anyone. For me, I call them my non-negotiables. And every time I journal, I write them down. I'm like, these are my non-negotiables. It doesn't matter who you are. I will not go out of this for you. I will not lose my mentor for you. Everything else, you can do it. I say to people, I'm like, look, it's the same when you're talking about the list with men. A man can get a six-pack any day. He can work out and get it. Period. That's the truth. He can go on a diet, give him a year, he's going to come out with six-pack. There's so many things that can be fixed. Character. Character truly is a thing that someone has to make a conscious decision for themselves to say, I want to change before they change, because you will work so hard to change someone, right? And you will spend years with them, truly. And they will walk away and they will meet somebody else and they will change for that person in 2 seconds, and you're going to be like, I gave away.
Exactly.
They told you. They told you from the beginning. You just did not listen. You did not hear. And the reason why you did not listen and you did not hear is because you couldn't even hear your own voice. If you cannot even hear your own voice, then you cannot even hear the one that someone is like literally screaming with mics and speakers at you. You're not going to hear that. So
there's that book, He's Not That Into You. The writer wrote another book that's called it's called a breakup because it's broken. You know, he really breaks what you just said down, which is the whole thing where people think that they're going to be the ones that are going to change somebody. He said on there, there is 1% of people in this world that will have that magical relationship that we all get to see on television unfold, where, you know, the guy got to get his girlfriend in front of Adele to sing for her and ask her to marry him. That is a 1% chance that that's going to happen to you, right? So it is the same when it comes to...
Well, you don't even know the argument they had before they got there.
Oh, see?
No, I mean, honest, you don't even know the argument they had. Think about it. You don't know the argument they had before they got there. Oh my God, you're just taking me to this place, random place. I don't want to go there. And then you know what I mean? It's like, there's really no, like...
Yeah.
Perfection is a lie.
It is a lie. It is something that we like to watch.
Yes.
It is, and it's great to watch. It's beautiful when, you know,
life is messy.
Those two actors,
yeah, great things.
And then, you know, relationships are hard and they take a long time to work on, and you need to understand that. You're never gonna find a friend that's just gonna fall into place. Maybe you will. Great, you're so very freaking lucky, and that's great for you. I envy you. But you know, it's not gonna happen overnight. With friendship, with family, I've had a lot of conversations with family members. And now we're like in sync with where our relationships are. Same with friends. Same with, you know, boyfriends. When something happens, it's letting them know that hurt me. Don't let them walk out of the room. If they want to walk out of the room after you said that hurt me, that's okay. They heard you.
Yes.
They heard you.
You need a minute to go.
Yeah. And if they come back, they'll come back and talk to you. But you need to voice.
Oh, yeah. Oof. Yes. Communication.
So, yeah. So it's all that, you know. It's just, and that's never going to happen if you don't know yourself.
I agree.
If you don't tolerate, if you're going to go and tolerate people talking badly to you, then maybe you really need to step back and see what's going on.
I agree. Oh, Nydia, I could talk to you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, because I love my conversations with you. They're so like, it's like, you know, when someone sees you and then you see eye to eye, and then they understand reasons why certain things should be a certain way. I think for me, you're one of those people. You're like, and the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because I think you've really figured out the whole idea behind setting boundaries, and not just with like family or friends. It's like with work and everything. I've seen it like just exude from you now. There's like more peace. You just know exactly who your friends are. You know exactly what you're gonna do, and you know exactly what you're not gonna do, and you know your values, and you know the lines you're not gonna cross, and you know your non-negotiables. You're not gonna do anything to cross that. And like you said in the beginning, it's like, when you're friends with someone, or when I see you interact with someone, I always say to myself, oh, there's definitely something about this person for them to be friends with Nydia, or for her to associate herself with that person. So it's like, it's important. But yes, I love you so much, and thank you so much for being here. Guys, if you love this episode, if you really love this episode, write in the comments. Let us know, how do you set boundaries for yourself in friendships, relationships, work, family? How do you set healthy boundaries for yourself? What has been your experience trying to set those healthy boundaries? Are you still on that journey of trying to figure out yourself, where you're trying to figure out how to set those boundaries? We want to hear your stories. We want to hear your comments. We want to read from you as well, so that way we can, you know, learn a little bit as well from you guys. Do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to like this video and share with your friends, your family, your cousins, your enemies, your neighbors, just anyone. Just randomly see someone and be like, look, you have to listen to this. But thank you so much. It's been great. I'm Jiblika Maniel, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Mwah! Have a fantastic day.